Jesus said in Matthew 24:4, "Take heed that no man deceive you." Is anybody listening to him? You're listening to the best in Christian talk with Ari Golden.
Hi, I'm Ari Golden. Thank you so much for being with us again today. Today we're going to talk about nothing is as it appears. I'm going to read from the Word of the Lord, the book of Numbers, chapter 22, beginning at verse 21. And the Word of the Lord reads, "And Balaam rose up in the morning and saddled his ass and went with the princes of Moab. And God's anger was kindled because he went. And the angel of the Lord stood in the way for an adversary against him. Now he was riding upon his ass, and his two servants were with him. And the ass saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way, and his sword drawn in his hand. And the ass turned aside out of the way, and went into the field. And Balaam smote the ass to turn her into the way. But the angel of the Lord stood in the path of the vineyards, a wall being on this side, and a wall on that side. And when the ass saw the angel of the Lord, she thrust herself unto the wall, and crushed Balaam's foot against the wall, and he smote her again. And the angel of the Lord went further, and stood in a narrow place, where there was no way to turn either to the right hand or to the left. And when the ass saw the angel of the Lord, she fell down under Balaam, and Balaam's anger was kindled, and he smote the ass with a staff. And the Lord opened the mouth of the ass, and she said unto Balaam, What have I done unto thee, that thou hast smitten me these 3 times? And Balaam said unto the ass, Because thou hast mocked me, I would there were a sword in my hand, for now would I kill thee. And the ass said unto Balaam, Am not I thine ass upon which thou hast ridden ever since I was thine unto this day? Was I ever wont to do so unto thee? And he said, Nay. Then the Lord opened the eyes of Balaam, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way, and his sword drawn in his hand, and he bowed down his head and fell flat on his face. May God add a blessing to the reading of his word. Nothing is as it seems. More so now than ever before, because we're watching the velvet glove at this point almost come completely off the iron-fisted hand of tyranny. And unfortunately, very few people appear to have discernment, as I just read from this text here about Balaam. Balaam didn't have any discernment when the donkey was trying to let him know that you're fixing to get yourself killed here. And instead, he smote the donkey until eventually the donkey pretty much gave up and fell down, at which time Balaam went completely off. But that's when the donkey spoke, and eventually God opened the eyes of Balaam so he could see what he was getting ready to walk into. Well, I'm trying to, like others, are trying to be like a saddled donkey to you and let you know you're fixing to walk into tyranny here if we don't start pushing back on this some. We're not going to make this completely go away, but man, we're going headlong into this thing. I mean, these folks, the elite over us, that lord over us, they are just making all types of circles around our head, and we don't perceive anything that they're doing. The only thing that we can pinpoint that there's some racial element. We can't criticize President Obama because he's black, or we can't criticize Hillary because she's a female, she's a feminist. We can't get upset about the undocumented. We can't be upset about the illegals here because that means that you're a racist. You know, all of this stuff which is designed to keep us fighting and feeling empowered about those little micro issues, and the macro issues, the big issues are all around us, and they're swallowing us up and they're destroying us at the same time. If I were the New World Order, if I were this New World Order empire, if I had any brains about me, I would go about trying to bring a tyranny on like they're bringing it on now. I mean, to a certain extent, they're carrying a bunch of their own water, but to another extent, we're carrying some of their water for them. We do their bidding for them. They throw the sound bites out through their talking heads on TV, and we run with it. For example, the Donald Sterling thing. It's a total non-issue. It's a non-issue that there's this billionaire who was secretly recorded by someone he thought he trusted. Someone obviously he has a sexual relationship with. Recorded him making some very untoward statements about his black millionaire employees. And but finding out more about the issue, apparently he was in bed with the NAACP. He was in cahoots with, he's a Democrat. He's a power broker with them. And this kind of blew up in their faces a little bit. Or maybe they're just trying to take him down because some people want to try to take him down because they're trying to take his team from him. I don't know. But I know one thing, percolating all the way down to me, all the way down here, it really doesn't have any impact on me, and it doesn't have an impact on most of us. But see, we feel empowered by those talking heads throwing that out at us, so we feel empowered by catching that football and we're running with it. And we're making all kinds of noise, and we think that we're actually accomplishing something, and we're not. We're just carrying the water of division and bringing us down, ultimately bringing us all down one notch at a time. We're probably pretty much near free fall at this point. That's what these people are doing to us, and they're very, very effective at it. And as I said, we contract with them in it. See, the way these people's magic works, they feel as though and I'm going to do a broadcast on this. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do a bunch of broadcasts on it. But the way their magic works, they have to tell you what they're going to do. It magnifies their magic. And literally, I mean magic, as well as the scientific aspect to it that they've got tied into it. And they feel as though they have to get you to accept, to buy into it. For example, and this is nothing new, going back to Eve in the garden. Satan didn't overrun Eve in the garden. He had Eve contract with him. She bought the contract. It was a fraudulent one, and she realized it immediately, and there was no way to get out of it. That's why Christ had to eventually come. She was kicked out of the garden, her and her husband, but there was hope still given to her. But going back to the original point, that's the way these people's magic works. And it works through the different talking points they throw at us. We contract with them by grabbing hold of it and feeling empowered by it, by arguing with our fellow employees and family members and maybe even strangers, getting on the web, Facebook, and we run with these different issues. And they're non-issues, but they were blown up and magnified, and we fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. Meanwhile, nobody sees that the country is being plundered, that our spending is way out of control. This government, I heard it said the other day on a talk show, this government is the biggest government the world has ever seen. Certainly the wealthiest. And to boot with it, all of the tentacles of this monstrosity of a government, this Leviathan government we have, federal government, is reaching into every crevice of our personal lives. And again, we're buying into it. You say, oh no, Golden, how? Oh, I'll tell you how. Because we snap right back and we say, well, got to keep it safe, got to give up something. No, we don't have to give up anything. But we contract with them by saying and acknowledging, yeah, I guess we got to give up something because, yeah, I guess that's the way it is. Meanwhile, the tyranny continues, and then they say, well, you got to give up more. We got to put more money into it to fight it until eventually you're in the total prison. You can't come out. You're banging on the door saying, hey, let us out. We didn't think we would be in here. That's the way tyranny works. That's what we're plunging headlong into. No discernment. Nothing is as it seems. Nothing. Zero, nada, nothing, null is as it appears. I mean, the free spending, the generous Social Security disability, the generous welfare, even now we're doing things for illegal people, with educating them, hospitalizing them, and everything else that goes with it, with massive spending that's going on, and we don't think that there is not an end game to all of this. We think it's as they say it is. No. It's all a lie. The 4 Ds of the New World Order: death, dearth, deceit, and destruction. They're doing that so that we can all be controlled. So you won't fight against it if you know that your welfare, if your means of subsistence, your means of being able to have a roof over your head, your means of providing for your family are going to be cut off if you criticize, if you go outside the parameters that they set for you. That's what this is all about. And meanwhile, I mean, they're not developing this just to have a bunch of baby birds just to feed all day either. The end result is death. Satan is a god that kills, steals, and destroys very well. Going back to the Georgia Guidestone, going back to the Denver Airport murals, going back to all of the different statements by the elite over the years, some of them in secret, some of them public, but veiled, that they aim to kill 80, 90% plus of the world population because they said it's too many people. And you even buy into that to a certain extent when they talk about global warming, how we're destroying the planet. And the thought behind that is that us human beings are bad. It's not them are bad, but we're bad. But we're not the ones that are exploding nuclear bombs out in the ocean in deserted areas in this country and on uninhabited islands out at sea. We're not the ones that are spraying heavy metals mixed in with the jet fuels over large parts of this country. We're not the ones that are that are promoting nuclear reactors or nuclear power plants that have they're essentially a wasteland and a nuclear disaster waiting to happen because they're not being kept up like they should. We're not the ones doing that. But see, they want us to feel bad because we're not a part of the elite. See, they want us to contract with them, and we're contracting with them very well. Nothing is as it seems. When you see the models on television, they look like they're half doped up. The first thing you want to do is just say, oh man, look like they're stoned out on drugs. When in many cases, many of these people are victims of trauma-based mind control. But you didn't know that, did you? Or some of the celebrities that melt down, such as one of the ones that came to my mind right away, or Britney Spears a couple years ago. You thought she was just having a little mini episode, personal conflict in her life. No. She was a trauma-based mind control victim, and she was fighting her programming. Bet you didn't know that. But see, what we do, same thing with Michael Jackson. See, but what we do is we're quick to label somebody as disposable or run with the running lines that the media gives us, so that we don't look into it any further than what we should. Oh, that person went on a drug binge, or this person just for whatever reason, this celebrity is just bugging out. But case in point, though, that if you look further into these issues, that there's a lot more than meets the eye. And those of us that have been studying and I've been looking into trauma-based mind control now for about a year or two now. I've been looking into some of the other issues of propaganda and black magic, what the type of magic that they run over us, they put on us. I've been looking into it now for about 2 or 3 years, and just like as I said the other broadcast, Vernon Maxwell, and it's so true. Once you start to peel back and you start to see what really goes on in this world, that we really are living in a matrix, it's very dangerous, and it really even almost makes you fight for sanity, because you're seeing something that 95% plus of the people don't see, but it's there for them to look at as well. But you can see the programming on people. What's the first thing that people do when they go to their car, when they sit down, when they're going about any task? Is they take their cell phone and look at it. There's more than that meets the eye. Nothing is as it seems. It's mind control. Try fighting it. Try not using it for a few minutes, for a few hours, for a better part of a day. It's a tough battle. Yeah, it's because you're programmed to use it that way, and to have that phone, that device become a part of you. It's part of the programming that was integrated in it when it was developed, and it's tweaked more and more all the time. We contract with these people. We don't like the tyranny, but yet we want the tyranny. We don't like the police harassing us all the time, and we think that the police wearing the black uniforms, the balaclavas, the automatic weapons, the assault weapons, the camouflage uniforms, armored personnel carriers that were conveniently given to the military or the police departments around the country. We were told because there was the surplus and they just wanted to help out the police departments. Nothing is as it seems. There's more to the story. But yet, at the same time, as I said, we don't like that, but we contract with them because, for example, with the Miriam Carey situation in D.C., was it last year? A woman she had her child in the back seat, and she was driving erratically. She was obviously, I've seen the video numerous times, obviously trying to get away from the police. And the police they murdered her right there in front of the public. And Congress in session, they made a statement about how brave the police were and what they did, and the police came out and they said that she had some mental problems. So immediately, that's all part of the mind control scenario. So immediately, once we hear those words, and it's like, what we do is we immediately sidebar her. We immediately make her disposable. Oh, she was a kook anyway. They could say that and do that with any of us. See, but because it didn't happen to you or somebody in your family, it's really not that important. Such as with James Byrd. See what I mean by we buy into it at the same time? James Byrd, man who was homeless behind a boulder in New Mexico. Didn't happen too long ago. Where I think it was about 5 or 6 police officers dressed in military-style uniforms. I think they had green uniforms on. and with a combination of the rifles and the bean bags, which can be lethal, and the German Shepherd dog, they killed the man. One man, 5, 6 cops. And the man did not buck or fight with the guys. He was executed right there on video, and the police turned around and he said that it was one that demanded escalating responses, because they start out non-lethal and eventually had to kill him. You watch the video and you say, well, was it really necessary to kill the guy because he was homeless, but living behind a boulder? But see, because they said he was homeless and had some mental problems, and we said, oh, he's disposable. Guess he shouldn't have been there, should have listened to the cops. Same thing with Kelly Thomas in California. I believe it was Fullerton, California. Police officer walked up to him. This isn't about beating up police officers. We need police officers. We need military. But this is what happens when you run into a tyrannical situation. And we've been going into it for a while, but it's escalating. But with Kelly Thomas, he was, I guess he was somewhere where the police didn't feel as though he should have been. There was a police officer that walked up to him. You could hear it clearly on the mic, and he said, and I almost quote verbatim, he definitely used the word F. He said, I'm going to F you up with these. The man did not want to have any part of it. He was trying to get away from the situation. As it turned out, they ended up having the man on the ground. It was about 7, 8 cops. I'm not exaggerating. And they just kept beating the guy. And you could see it was probably the worst, aside from shootings, the worst police brutality video I've ever seen in my life. And again, they come out and they say, should have listened to the cops. And when you hear the man pleading for his daddy, he did have mental problems. So once you hear that, and you say, oh, he was a kook anyway, shouldn't have been out there. See? So we don't want it, but we buy into it. But see, the circle of liberty is closing in on us all. And there's not going to be any place for you to run, no place for you to hide. How about all those cases going back just as little as 10 years ago? You remember up to at least 10 years ago, whenever police shot somebody in the back, there was a big situation about that. A big PR nightmare, at the least, that happened. They want to know at what point, guy turned around, did he get a bullet in his back? But now, police are shooting people in the back. Should have listened. We don't even talk about that anymore. Nothing is as it seems. There's a reason for it. We're going headlong into tyranny. And this donkey is trying to warn you. We can't make it go away, but we can sure push back on it a little bit. All right, I leave you with a quote for today coming from former mayor New York City, John F. Hyland. He was mayor of New York City from 1918 through 1925, and he said the real menace of our republic is the invisible government, which is like a giant octopus, sprawls its slimy legs over our cities, states, and nation. All right, thank you so much for being with us.
You've been listening to WYU 93.4, riding the last wave of U.S. freedom and Christian talk.